Are wider tires more comfortable? Now, we long distance cyclists need to prioritize comfort because prolonged exposure to vibration can harm our performance, our enjoyment, and even cause injuries over multi day events. Before you go typing how stupid my question is in the comments, consider this. A 42 millimeter tire at 60 psi is rock hard. A 23 millimeter tire at 60 psi is really soft. In this case, the narrow tire is more comfortable. That also means that as we increase and decrease pressure in those tires, they can meet somewhere in the middle and have equal comfort. But why? And understanding this, what does that push us towards in the search for an ideal tire setup? Let's explore. Hoop stress is one explanation. From our previous example, imagine the 42 millimeter tire has 60 pounds of pressure on each square inch of its surface. Because it's a bigger tire, it has about double the surface area of the 23 millimeter tire, so it'll have about double the hoop stress. I think this might be the key to understanding tire comfort and perhaps performance too. Another explanation is tire drop. This describes how much squish a tire provides at a certain pressure under a certain load. Older hypotheses suggested that 15% tire drop resulted in ideal tire performance. However, newer tests like from bicyclerolling-resistance.com shows tires of different widths inflated to equal tire drop perform about the same efficiency on a drum test. They label these as having the same comfort level. When comparing pressures for equal tire drop to hoop stress across tire widths in a previous video, I found they're quite similar. But wider tires carry slightly more hoop stress and less nominal pressure for a given tire drop. Silca takes a completely different approach to tire widths with their tire pressure calculator, which claims to optimize for breakpoint pressure, the most efficient tire pressure for a given set of parameters. I've also analyzed the Silca and other tire pressure calculator recommendations in a previous video, and I found that they somewhat correlate with hoop stress. However, they tend to require more narrow tires, carry more hoop stress, and wider tires carry less. This is opposite of the recommendations for equal tire drop, so these two are in conflict. Today's test will hopefully be a step towards optimal tire choices through better understanding of tire comfort. I'm going to test 3 different tire sizes and measure the amount of vibration at the handlebars. I hope to establish a clear relationship between tire width, air pressure, and hoop stress as it relates to real-world comfort, and also try to figure out where tire drop and tire pressure calculators fit in. 25C, 30C, and 34C Schwalbe Pro 1 TLE tires with TPU tubes will be tested. Actual inflated widths will be measured, and pressures will then be set for 4 test conditions: equal high hoop stress, equal low hoop stress, Silca calculator recommendations, and equal air pressure. My little Psych Plus pump will set tire pressures for each run. There's an affiliate link and discount code in the description. I'll use my usual test loop with a range of surface roughness and follow the protocols of previous testing videos to measure vibration in meters per second squared across 4 categories of surface roughness. Due to budget constraints, the rear tire is going to be this 30C tire that inflates to 33 millimeters. The hoop stress of this tire will be set to match the hoop stress of the front test tire to try to keep things as even as possible. Thank you to everyone who watches, who likes, subscribes, and comments, because your support helps fund independent experiments like this, and hopefully will help develop even better, more accurate, and interesting tests in the future. Let's get into it. Vibration data from 35 laps over 12 test conditions was analyzed, totaling about 2 million data points and 59 kilometers of testing. The 3 entries from each test condition were found to have low variability between runs across the 4 data buckets that describe smooth roads, worn roads, chip seal, and hard hits, as well as overall averages. This matches trends from previous tire tests, meaning we can focus on overall averages to keep things simple. It can be hard to talk about feelings with numbers, So for reference, a 10% drop in tire pressure results in about a 6% drop in vibration, both in this test and previous tests that I've conducted. Getting into the data, at the 80 psi test, equal air pressure resulted in the narrow tire being the most comfortable, while the widest tire was the most harsh, with a nearly 5% delta in vibration between the 26 and the 32.5. While maybe counterintuitive, this is an expected result, similar to the example at the start of the video. When pressures matched a low hoop stress, the 30mm tire had a 5% reduction in vibration, while the 32.5 showed over 9% improvement over the 26. Subjectively, the low hoop stress condition was quite comfortable in all tire sizes. The 26mm tire suffered no rim impacts or pinch flats. When pressures matched a high hoop stress, vibration performance was more or less equal across tire sizes. It was a miserable experience to test, and the largest tire, subjectively, felt equally harsh as the others, which matched recorded data. Silca recommendations resulted in the largest gap of any test condition, with the 32.5 tire experiencing a reduction in vibration of over 15% compared to the 26. The 30mm tire split the difference with a 9% improvement. Terrain and speed inputs given to the Silca calculator can be adjusted, and their suggested pressures reflect other recorded test runs. A similarly large difference between tire sizes is evident at these more firm settings too. Welcome back to the lab. So what did we learn from this experiment, and how does it impact our tire choice and tire setup? Well, first, I think this test does answer the question, are wider tires faster? And from a broad perspective, that answer is actually no. And that's because each width of tire has a range of possible levels of comfort it can provide, and its range overlaps with tires larger and smaller. Narrow tires were capable of surprising comfort when inflated towards the lower end of their operating pressure. This proves they may still have a place on our bikes. And with that, I need to take a moment to apologize to Blair. Blair, I'm sorry I laughed when your bike was called a boomer bike. But you'll still probably want to replace those 23s with something a little bit meatier, so you can have this 25 when I'm done testing it, as long as you promise not to inflate it above 90 psi. Now, to better frame that question, we can rephrase it a little bit. How can we determine what a tire's comfort will be? My original hypothesis was that hoop stress would be the primary predictor, but I wasn't sure if there would be an extra bonus from the added amount of air volume or the mass of rubber, or maybe a different size contact patch on the road. Results show larger tires are more harsh at equal pressure, which is expected if hoop stress predicts comfort. Upsizing offers a 1.5% improvement per millimeter of extra width at low hoop stress. The high hoop stress condition doesn't benefit from extra width. Filling in missing data, trend lines suggest this benefit shrinks as hoop stress increases. But more testing is needed to fill these gaps. From this, we might infer that hoop stress is a dominant predictor of comfort, but tire width plays a role too. Alternatively, the difference between low and high hoop stress may show that hoop stress is not the best predictor of tire comfort, and that it just roughly correlates with comfort. What's more clear is that my results give strong support for the explanation given by BicycleTireRollingResistance.com years ago. The tire drop, equalized across tires of different widths, results in equal comfort. A few of my results match vibration levels across tire sizes and can be compared to the BRR sample. The hoop stress differences across sizes between these samples closely match. Trend lines also fit where measured data doesn't yet exist. It looks like tire drop predicts comfort in real-world conditions and not just the lab. Of course, more testing and validation is needed, but this is a promising direction for future testing. And so, where does the Silca tire pressure calculator fit into all of this data? They don't claim to target comfort in their recommendations, but their recommendations do result in narrow tires riding much more firm and wider tires being much more plush. This results in a really big comfort gap between sizes for the same road conditions as seen in my data. Is this just a conspiracy to make wider tires seem more appealing? I don't really think so. I do trust that Silca is giving correct and high quality guidance to users so that they have a good experience with the tires that they buy. It seems to me like their recommendations mostly just match expectations for what people should expect from the size of tire that they choose. People who choose a slightly more narrow tire probably want some more feedback and more connected feeling to the road, and somebody buying a 32 or a 34C tire probably wants it to be more comfortable. That said, the differences between sizes is so large that I think it calls into question any time cycling media has used the Silka calculator when comparing tires of different sizes. Or maybe they really are just offering ideal pressures with their calculator like they claim. I'll try to crack this case in the future and see one way or the other what these recommendations tell us, so make sure to subscribe. Overall, we can probably say that tire drop is the best and most effective predictor of a tire's comfort. Unfortunately, measuring and setting specific tire drops is kind of difficult, so I'm going to need to develop or find some tire drop calculator for future testing. But once we can set tires of different widths to the exact same level of comfort, that opens up a wide range of possibilities for testing. We can test for efficiencies on different roughnesses of terrain. We can try to find different breakpoint pressures and see how those compare between different tire sizes. And this, hopefully, will lead us to an optimum tire size and setup for long-distance cycling. For now, optimum tire size is still unclear. But if you're thinking of selling your old bike to buy a new one because it has more tire clearance, you might want to hold off on that. These narrow tires, when inflated to pressures much lower than we would have used just a few years ago, offer surprisingly competent levels of comfort. Combine that with the incredible bike splits we saw at Kona recently, and Swisside offering advice for very low pressures specifically for that course, and I think we might be seeing the pendulum of tire sizes for road bikes swinging back more to the narrow side again. But time will tell and we'll find out. Ride safe and see you in the next video.